Thank you for the excellent introduction. And without further ado, we're also working very hard to try and beat Mark, who you've just seen present, to be the next new operating strategic-sized gold mine in Western Australia and perhaps in Australia. That's Apollo Hill, or an artist's rendition in front of you. The ore does stick out the ground, easy to get to. And I'm going to tell you about the journey we've been on and we're going on, exploration, development, and into production. Location, located in the heart of the Eastern Goldfields on the Wiluna Norseman Greenstone Belt. Key points on that slide, I suppose, surrounded by some multi-million ounce deposits and good road, rail, gas pipeline, good infrastructure, and all 100% owned tenure. If I move on. Some strengths on that slide there. First of all, an incredibly strong cash position for the company after a major raise. I think we've just put about $32 million away, if I'm doing my maths correctly, and massively supported by our own shareholder base, who've been with us a long time and really taken us on this journey. Still kept a tight share base through about 7.5 years since listing now, so not many shares on issue. A very strong institutional register. I think the latest number is about 57%, and that institutional register has been increasing. Large North American institutions, now European, a lot out of Asia, and of course our Australian supporters. The project valuation graph on the bottom right, though, I can kind of hand on heart say we are very undervalued. So in terms of our EV per resource ounce, I think this is one of the best buys, and that graph's meant to show the gap between our project valuation and our market capitalisation, which is coming up, so you might want to get in quick. I should have used the Sydney skyline for this, but I think it was round the harbour was a little bit curved, but this is Perth to full scale. This is a big strategic sized asset. You see the BHP building in the middle, and that sort of strike length there of the actual asset, 2.5 kilometres. It does stick out the ground. It is a bulk mining scenario, and I think that just gives you the perspective of what we're looking at here is a long life operating gold mine. And the other point on there is you can see that pit shell, which was done at only 3,300 gold, shows that we're currently drilling constrained. And we're going to do something about that this year as well. All our ounces are contained in one single, simple, open pit and very low strip. The stripping ratio on that pit is 1.5 to 1, and even for heap leach deposits, which really operate in this space, that's really in that sort of upper quartile, upper 10th percentile on a global scale. And that helps really keep those mining costs down and keeps us focused on ore. It's a bulk mine scenario. Oh, I've lost it down here, so I might have to turn around. That shows that stripping ratio, which is very low. The ore zone on the pit floor there, in some instances, is up to 180 metres wide, and if we think about this room, I don't know what's this, maybe 40, 50 metres wide. So that gives you some idea of the scale we're operating at. You see the open pits there. You can see the change between last year's resource and our preliminary economic assessment we put out in the black and light blue shells. You see the ore expansion we did this year with only 10,000 metres of drilling. We're at the midst of the moment of about a 50, 60,000 metre programme. So there's a lot more to come from the resource growth, which was done at that sort of sensible gold price. One of the reasons this works, other than those excellent mining dynamics you've seen, is a beautiful, simple metallurgy, mineralogy. All the gold is contained in quartz, free milling, crush it up, easy to get to. And what's beautiful about this is it allows us to heap leach the ore. And heap leaching is done throughout the world. It's probably the dominant form of gold production, perhaps not here in Australia. About 46% of the world's gold is produced like this. and it's characterised by a much lower operating cost. So we crush the rock up, put it on a big heap, and exactly the same cyanide extraction as everyone else, so very conventional. And we see some excellent recoveries without using a mill, without using a big power plant, without really a lot of energy and grind. And that's one of the huge advantages with this deposit. There's no carbon, copper, arsenic, nothing complicated about this ore whatsoever. Those are the heap leach curves. The kind of key point there is at the end, they all end up in one narrow, predictable band, irrespective of the grade I throw at this or the rock type I throw at this. And that converts to simple mining schedules, simple stacking schedules, and all that means lower cost again. So we just keep working on this in terms of simplifying it and pushing that cost profile down. And really this deposit is not about grade, it's about margin. And it's about volume. The best businesses in the world are usually small margins or reasonable margins and big volumes. And that's what we're going for here. All that converted in our preliminary economic assessment to about 10 million tonnes for 10 years. And the point on that graph is a nice, flat, steady production schedule where we just see the grade, the tonnes, and we produce about 122,000 ounces per annum. Again, at a similar strip ratio, and all about stability and simplicity in this deposit. What that really comes from, I suppose, from a mining perspective, is bulk mining. Now, that face shovel that you see in there is about 60, 70 tonne face shovel, 6, 7 times the size of your standard mining equipment in the goldfields. So the guy sat in the lever, who you're paying X dollars a day, is being 6 or 7 times more efficient. Those trucks are a lot bigger, they move a lot more dirt a lot quicker. And in terms of our region, we see that in mining cost about $4.50 a tonne. Traditionally, we might be sort of seeing about $5.50. We see a processing cost on the heap of about $11, I think 42 there, if I can remember rightly. Now that really translates to a difference of about $6, $7 with even the best of the big scale, big mill producers in this country at the moment. Translates to about a 1,850 in the all-in sustaining cost, which is obviously a long way above the gold price we used, a long way below the gold price we used in our study of 2,665, and probably double again in terms of the gold price today. The numbers on the right, when we use that 2,665 gold price, are what we were seeing in the studies. For the first time, we were seeing, a net present value, 388 million. We were seeing good internal rate of return, cash flow, 90 million. The numbers on the left were where we were looking at when last year we were doing our resource upgrade at 3,500 Australian. So we're starting to look at a project which is $1 billion project. An IRR of over 62% and payback or bankable metrics in the kind of order of a year and a half. And again, I think we've left that gold price a long way behind for at least the foreseeable future. I think the point on this was there's not a lot of gold deposits around Australia that look like this. So I wanted to bring some of the bubbles in from North America if you want. And these are some of the biggest, lowest cost producers in the globe. Florida Canyon, Integra, Bald Mountain, Kinross, global scale mining company using this kind of method. Marigold, just for example on that slide, the strip ratio on that deposit is about 3.3 to 1, whereas ours is about 1.5 to 1. But we are here in terms of grade, scale, strip ratio, recovery, and we've really been doing our homework on our cost structure. What we've done, obviously, is push on from that preliminary economic assessment into pre-feasibility. We've employed the world's best heap leach, EPCM, who've been doing our metallurgy for the last 2 years to bring us on this journey. They build heap leach mines all across the US and in fact the world, Caps Cassidy. And I think they did their due diligence on us rather than the other way around. Have a fantastic chief operating officer and chief financial officer. Our CFO has built mines and finance mines such as Sirius as Nova. Drilling's underway for our inaugural reserve this year. I mentioned that drill program. I think we're probably about 45,000 metres through that 60,000 metres. We should see another resource upgrade in July, our first reserve, and I think obviously everything has been trending in a very positive direction with some fantastic drill results. Metallurgy, geotech, mine design, and the little picture down the bottom speaks for about 1,000 kilometres of our water exploration ground under which we've been developing. So far, we've developed 4 bore fields and put the licensing and permitting in for those 4 bore fields, and we have a 5th one under development as well. We got onto that journey probably about 3 or 4 years ago. Integral part of mining, we are going to pull this deposit out of the ground. That's your drill program. I think the white holes were what was in the previous resource. The red ones are what we've drilled since and just reported. The orange ones are what we're ploughing through at the moment. There's 5 rigs on site. There'll be a 6th by the weekend, and by the end of the month there'll be 7. And we'll actually drill past this, really trying to push so that whatever comes in the current PFS, the DFS is bigger and stronger even again. We won't stop. Those are some of the fantastic results. I think Capricorn Metals, who's kind of one of the companies I've always been chasing, would be quite envious of some of the ones on the left. The ones on the right, 89 at 0.74. The market darling of heap leach space in the world is all mining. That's their head grade. I think they'd be envious of those intersections. We will step out and turn this deposit from the sort of 2 million ounce shell you see there, which is about 30,000 tonnes per day. We're going to drill some deep step out holes this year and chase that next stage in heap leach economics at about 45,000 tonnes per day and watch that exploration space in the next few months. I'd be drilling them tomorrow if the rigs weren't on the other program. Not necessarily last but least, we have 1,000 square kilometres of ground. The picture you're seeing there, that's all 100% owned. That's a drilling anomaly, that's not geochemistry. There's about 16 prospects we've found to date. 40 to 50% of that land package hasn't had a hole. I think when we put this slide out, we were thinking about another sort of 12,000 metres this year. After a very successful fundraising, I'll be arguing very strongly with the board that we keep the pressure on that ground. I think it's not impossible we don't find another Sundergwalia on there, never mind another Apollo Hill. Timeline to development, we're in that definitive feasibility, which we'll see later this year along with our resource upgrade and inaugural reserve. We're pushing through that definitive feasibility and we should see production starting to come in about 27, 28. Despite that, we have also been looking at a kind of study where we're looking at a staged mining concept, and you can see the big pit shell outline there and then some little pit shells within it. One of the great things about that is it's been giving us some options in terms of perhaps could we stage our development, and that's been studied heavily in the pre-feasibility at the moment. A low capex option for any company is a great option. That thing's about 1/10 of the scale when it starts, and what we're looking at now is how do we go kind of 1 million tonne, 3, 5 million tonne, and into full-scale production. It is contractor modelled at the moment, but we have put the permits in for native vegetation, mining, works approvals for plant, water permitting we looked at earlier, and if anything, that study has really accelerated our journey along for whatever scale we do this as we set off. And that's us in a nutshell. And thank you very much.